When I moved to this quaint town, it felt like stepping back in time. The residents were welcoming, and life was much slower than in the city. I had left, I bought a small house, and got a job nearby. Quickly adapting to the rural lifestyle, my neighbors were a mix of longtime locals and newcomers, each with unique stories, I soon became part of the community, joining local activities, and forming close relationships. One of the most interesting people was Mr. Henderson, who owned a large farm down the road. His daughters had moved away, and he eventually sold the land and retired to the south, leaving an estate that drew many buyers. After the Hendersons left, the farm stood empty, creating an eerie silence. Local gossip speculated about the future owners. New neighbors bought the estate. Rumored to be from the north and wealthy, the property included a farmhouse, barn, outbuildings, and 212 acres of fertile land. The farm had thrived until Mr. Henderson aged, his daughters left, and he decided to sell. Despite their concerns, he was in good health, leaving them no recourse. I found their predicament amusing, and agreed with my aunt that they were too pretentious. One day I encountered one of the daughters with her Cadillac on the side of the road, steam billowing from under the hood. I pulled over to help, but she panicked and didn't open the door. It was raining and cold, so I called the sheriff's department from the top of Henderson Hill, the only place with a signal. "Will, why didn't you help her?" Wendell from the county police asked. I tried, Wendell, she wouldn't open the door. I said defensively, "Get out and do something," Wendell insisted. "Okay, let me get my slicker, it's raining, cold, and dark," I replied. "She's probably scared, so hurry up. If you hurry, I have leftover barbecue you can take to the station," Wendell tempted. "Take your time, Wendell," I muttered sarcastically. "If you hurry, I might give up a couple of slices of the fat piece," Wendell added, sweetening the deal. Okay, no offense. "I'll be there in 10 minutes, I conceded. 10 minutes later, Wendell and I drove back. She was still there, crying. Wendell identified himself, and she rolled down her window. "Ma'am, do you need help?" Wendell asked gently. "Yes, please." Smoke started coming from under the hood, and it just stalled, she said. "I couldn't reach anyone. It's good you found me," she said, relieved. "I didn't find you, ma'am, Will did. Let him look under the hood. He was a good mechanic before everything became computerized," Wendell explained. I quickly saw the problem. The lower radiator hose is ruptured. You need a new radiator hose, ma'am. Call AAA when Wendell drives you home, and they'll come to get it, I suggested. She panicked again. "I can't just leave it here. My husband would eliminate me," she cried, Wendell suggested. "Hey, Will, why don't you haul it for her?" It was late, cold, and raining, but I couldn't leave her in trouble. "I'll take it to my lot and leave it behind the fence for safety. Is that okay?" I offered. "Thank you, we'll pay whatever you charge. Take me home, officer," she said. With reverence, addressing Wendell as if his title were divine, Wendell hurried to help her. Then there was a call about a wreck on Route 12. And Wendell had to go. "Sorry, ladies, we'll pick you up later. Don't eat that barbecue. I'll come back," Wendell instructed. "Sure, I'll put it in the refrigerator at the store. Lock it behind you this time," I reminded him. "You're never going to let me forget that, are you?" Wendell grumbled. "No. As long as the odor holds," I retorted. "Mrs. Hatfield, are you ready?" I asked. She finally gave us her name. She owned Henderson's place with her husband. When we arrived at her house, the lights were off. "Why aren't the lights on?" I questioned. "Power went out. Didn't you notice how dark it was the last mile?" She replied. "What am I going to do?" She fretted. "Do you have a flashlight or lanterns?" I inquired. "Not that I know of." She admitted. "Well, Mrs. Hatfield, it's a good investment. Mr. Henderson had a generator in the store. Is it still there?" I asked. "I don't know. We haven't checked," she said. "If it's there, it's connected to the power grid," I informed her. Luckily, the machine was still in place and running. But barely, with about 4 hours of fuel left, if it doesn't go out. You'll be fine until power returns. I'd invest in a barrel of diesel. Just in case, I advised. She nodded, taking notes. I'm going to get your car now. Here's my card with my number, if you need anything. Before your husband returns, call me. Your car will be on my lot. The address is on the card. Good night, Mrs. Hatfield, I said. I can't thank you enough. Mrs. Hatfield replied gratefully. Don't worry about it, good night. I responded. After ensuring she was safe, I called Sherry. Where have you been? Why didn't you call? Sherry demanded. Sorry, babe, the police called. Billy's away. And they asked me to pick up the car. I'll be home in an hour and a half, I explained. I hope you squeeze the crap out of them for making you work in this weather. Sherry fumed. I'll get mine, don't worry, I assured her. It was all about money, but I didn't realize it at first. Her parents were well off, and I thought we were doing fine. A year ago, she started acting like we were living in poverty, and I always wondered why. After picking up the trailer and car, I came home as promised. Sherry had gone to bed, leaving a note. That dinner was in the microwave. I had a quick snack and shower, and slept until my alarm rang. The next day was sunny and warm. A change from the cold rain. With little to do at the store, I fixed the car by lunchtime. A man in his 40s, wearing a suit, entered the office. I'm Ben Hatfield. I need to arrange to tow my wife's car. Who's the best mechanic in town? He asked. He spoke to Charlie, my assistant. Charlie pointed at me and walked over, introducing himself. Will McCoy, I said with a smirk. Sorry, Mr. Hatfield, we're not laughing at you, just the Hatfield and McCoy thing, Charlie explained. Hatfield smiled. I hope we won't be feuding. I left my shooting iron in Philadelphia. I melted mine into a plowshare. How can I help? I replied. I need my wife's car towed. Can you recommend someone? Hatfield asked. I fixed it this morning. Just needed a new hose and antifreeze. Bring your wife before 6, and she can drive it home, I informed him. Surprised, he asked. How much do I owe you? $40. The receipt is in the dashboard, I replied. No, I meant for your work, Hatfield clarified. I can't charge you, we're neighbors. Down here, you don't charge for kindness, I explained. Confused, he nodded. And I elaborated. If you wanted to rent equipment, I'd charge. If I needed legal advice, you'd charge, but for small favors, it's different. He returned later with his wife, who looked younger and more attractive than expected. She thanked me repeatedly, until I asked her to stop. Call me Angie, we're neighbors. She held up her hand, and I introduced Myra and Charlie, asked for a tour, showing great interest in our equipment. In the circus tent castle, popular for weddings, Sherry was on edge again. Wanting a new car like our neighbor's Cadillac, her Chevrolet Impala, which she insisted on getting years ago, was no longer satisfactory, I reminded her. We couldn't trade it in for years. This thing is almost worn out. With 85,000 miles, I need a new car. You don't need one, you want one. We can't keep up with the neighbors. He's a lawyer. Your car is fine. If you disagree, buy it yourself without my name on the paperwork. I had her figured out. Her credit was terrible. She defaulted on a car loan and credit card debt while we were dating. I helped with the car, but refused to pay her credit card debt. I don't believe in credit cards. They're a trap and a waste. But you have two, right? Yes, for business. I use American Express when necessary, and the other twice a year to keep it active. I made her sign a prenup to exclude my house and business from community property. My parents owned the house, and left it to me when they moved to my sister's in California. Sherry assumed we formalized the transfer, but all the paperwork was ready just in case. I started my business by doing subcontract work for builders. Tired of driving 50 miles for equipment, I started my own business. I invested all my profits in new equipment for years, and paid My parents back in the 4th year by the time I met Sherry. I was proud of my accomplishments and didn't want to lose them. We met at a contractor's Christmas party. Bored, I decided to attend. Sherry was there with someone else, but we danced, and there was a spark. As I was leaving, the hostess gave me Sherry's number. Call her, she said, kissing my cheek. I intended to call, but got busy. A week before Christmas, she came into the store, talked to Myra, and pointed me out. I'd like to pick up my rental, she said, handing me paperwork. Male, good looking, chaperone for a Christmas party, 5 hours, pleasant conversationalist, good dancer. Kissing skills determined if willing to be trained, delivery to the specified address. I agreed, and we went for coffee. Myra insisted I buy a new suit. So we went to the mall with her husband for entertainment. After trying 8 suits, she declared we had found the one. Then came the shirt, tie, socks, and shoes. You're not going to pick out my underwear, are you? I joked. Dark blue silk boxers, Myra replied. You want to feel as good as you look. Please remind me to fire you sometime, only if my severance package includes costume modeling. If I beg you, will you let us go home? Maybe, if you promise to cut your hair tomorrow, her husband laughed. Feeling stylish, I rented a Cadillac Escalade for the weekend. When I arrived to pick her up, she looked stunning in a shimmering green dress with a high slit and a deep neckline, held in place with double-sided tape. Despite the bold outfit, she looked elegant. At the party, we danced and socialized. She was the hit of the party, always being asked to dance. She was wary, but handled it well. During a slow dance, she grabbed my hand and left an overly touchy partner standing there. No more slow dancing with anyone but you, she whispered, as we walked back to the table. On the way home, she snuggled close and nibbled on my ear. At every stoplight, we kissed until cars honked. Before leaving her house, we steamed up the windows. After 20 minutes, she asked me in for coffee. I sat on the couch while she changed. As I was about to doze off, I heard someone clear their throat and fell off the couch. When she said to get out of the dress, she meant completely. I was speechless. She got nervous when I didn't say anything. Here's the thing. I like you a lot. Normally I'd send you home tonight. We'd date a dozen times, then have a big night with candles, music, maybe whipped cream and chocolate, but I really like you, so let's say 3 months. And put my mattress to the test. After 4 hours, I left, only to get breakfast. Otherwise the Escalade didn't move for 2 days. We moved in together after 2 months, and married after 7. We planned to spend a few years together before starting a family. She was 25, I was 31. 10 years passed, and I started hinting at a family. About a year ago, she became more demanding and materialistic. She decided we needed a new house, despite ours having 4 bedrooms. Then she maxed out a credit card, and didn't speak to me for days. When I paid it off and cut her off, she still made decent money, but stayed broke. I paid all the bills except groceries, which was her responsibility. Her closet was full of clothes with tags and unworn shoes. The silence after the car episode lasted 5 days. On the 6th day, she came home and found me pulling her clothes out of the closet. She watched silently. I'm not living like this. If I'm living alone, I'll live alone. I called your mother. She agreed to let you stay with her for 2 weeks. We'll find you a place by then. I'll pay the deposit, first 2 months' rent, and set up utilities. You need to learn to budget and live on your own. She passed out. I took off her clothes, laid her on the floor, and wiped her forehead with a cold rag. She woke up surprised. Will, I had the strangest dream. You were kicking me out, but I don't remember why. She saw her clothes in suitcases, then started crying and begging me not to make her leave. Please, please, please. After letting her cry, I told her to wash off her makeup and meet me in the kitchen. She sat down, avoiding my gaze. I'm serious, Sherry, I'm not living like this anymore, the tantrums, the spending, the refusal to talk about starting a family. I don't know you anymore. If you want to leave, say so. If not, things have to change. She admitted she was scared of motherhood, haunted by her childhood. She was the middle of 3 kids, and when her parents separated when she was 12, it affected her deeply. I can still see my mom crying alone with 3 teenagers. She started drinking and ignored us. My dad moved halfway across the country. I don't want to put a child through that. I took her hand. Darling, I'm sorry you had such a childhood, but I'm not talking about a full house, just one. If we want another, we'll wait at least 5 years, but I'll never leave you, I promise. For about 3 weeks, we avoided each other, but gradually returned to normal. She stopped spending and opened a savings account. 3 months later, she showed me the balance. I was amazed. Don't be too proud, it'll be empty soon, I thought. She wanted a new car, but she said no. She had another plan. She was buying furniture for the nursery, and I was going to paint it. What did you just say? She smiled, the smile women have when they know they've turned your world upside down. We're going to have a son in about 7 months. The nursery needs to be finished, so you'll have to cut back on the store, especially near the end. I never cried in her presence. She told me in my office, fresh from the doctor, that she had stopped taking her pills to surprise me. And it worked. When I started crying, it scared her. Did I make a mistake? I thought that's what you wanted. She didn't finish. Before I covered her with kisses, Myra noticed something was up. When we came out later, what's going on with you two? You look like someone slapped you, and you both enjoyed it. Myra, can you keep a secret? She nodded, but I knew she'd tell everyone. We're having a baby, 7 months from now. It'll be a boy. Promise me you won't tell anyone. We want to surprise my mom. She muttered an acknowledgement while pulling out her phone. I turned to Sherry. I hope you've already told your mom. She grinned. I checked in here before I arrived. Everyone in town will know by tonight. At lunch, people stopped us to congratulate. When we returned, a banner was hanging over the counter. Congratulations to Will and Sherry. It's a baby. The pregnancy was difficult. After 7 months, Sherry was put on bed rest. Her mother moved in to help. Labor lasted 17 hours before a C-section was performed. Sherry, exhausted, told me, never again. I agreed. She had her tubes tied before leaving the hospital. William Bryan Sanford weighed almost 9 pounds and had a full head of black hair, just like me. The nurse said it might change color, but it never did. Becoming a parent is indescribable, beautiful, and terrifying. It's no longer about you. Even when they're grown, your world revolves around them. Spontaneous trips and romantic weekends are replaced by careful planning, even for a grocery store run. Sherry didn't take to motherhood as I expected. She loved Billy, but would hand him to me as soon as I got home, calling it baby. Recovery time. I enjoyed holding him, talking about our future together. He never cried with me, which annoyed Sherry. I'd come home to him crying, but he'd calm down once I picked him up. I took 2 weeks off after Billy was born. When I returned to work, there was a new sign, Sanford & Son Equipment Rentals, no junk. Myra and Charlie grinned, and tears came to my eyes. My screensaver showed a slideshow of Billy, Sherry, and us together. My friendship with the Hatfields grew gradually. One day, Angie wanted to rent a tractor for her garden. I wouldn't rent it to her, because she didn't know how to operate it. Why not? Angie asked, puzzled. Tractors can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. I don't want that on my conscience. Besides, you have everything you need. Mr. Henderson's Yanmar is perfect for your garden. I explained. It won't turn on, she replied, frustrated. I knew she'd find someone else if I didn't help. The battery's probably dead. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'll come by and look at it, I offered. Oh, I couldn't take you away from your family, Angie protested. They'll be with me, I assured. That Saturday, I took Sherry and Billy to Angie's house. Angie cooed over Billy for an hour, holding him the whole time. Sherry was annoyed that Billy was crying, but he stopped when Angie picked him up. I plugged the charger into the tractor, while Bennett and I looked for a garden plot. Are you sure you want her to ride the tractor? Bennett asked, concerned. No, but she's determined. Please keep an eye on her and guide her, I replied. We talked, while Angie and Sherry made sandwiches and potato salad. We ate and discussed her garden plans, then we headed to the barn. For Angie's first tractor lesson, I showed her the brakes, throttle, hydraulics, and gears. Remember, a tractor won't stall like a car. Release the clutch and it moves. Starting in high gear can lift the front end, and on a slope, you could flip. Always use a collapsible bar and seat belt for safety, I instructed. I had her drive in low gear while I walked beside her, giving directions. She practiced using the hydraulic 3-point hitch and then tried the rotary plow. Always start with equipment attached. If you hit a steep slope, the equipment will keep you from flipping, I advised. She made a few passes with the plow, grinning, while Bennett took pictures. I parked the tractor and pulled the key. The battery is dead. A friend will install the crossbar and seatbelts on Tuesday. Wait until then to drive it, I cautioned. When Angie asked eagerly, next Saturday, we'll show you how to use and change the equipment, I replied. We left after hugs and handshakes. On the way home, Sherry was animated. She has a beautiful house. Nothing like Mr. Henderson's. She mentioned a trust fund and still owns a house up north from her grandmother. Sherry remarked, good for them, they deserve it, I said. Later I saw Sherry looking up the value of the painting she had seen. She was right, some were worth thousands. Sherry went back to work. She loved her job, and we didn't need her income as much, yet she'd go crazy staying home all day. We had a good time teaching Angie to drive the tractor. Ben learned too, but wasn't as enthusiastic. Angie planted her garden and bought a small cultivator. She cried when she harvested her first string beans. She kept expanding the garden. Despite my warnings, Ben leaves early and comes home late. I need something to do and have plenty to write about on my blog. She started a popular blog, Gone Country, about her countryside experiences, which was humorous and sometimes serious. I appeared in some pictures and videos as her spiritual advisor in all things rural, which was awkward when Myra started reading it. Angie wanted to be as organic as possible. I introduced her to a friend with horses, who gave her manure for her garden, in exchange for cleaning stalls. She called her work outfit her crap uniform on the blog, complete with a picture of her in gloves, boots, and a bandana. She cleaned 3 stalls twice a week, and her compost pile grew. Sherry joined me less frequently. I heard a lot about manure, crop rotation, and organic pesticides. I took Billy with me, putting his carrier in the shade. Angie spent as much time with him as she did gardening. As we grew closer, I asked if she ever wanted children. Yes, when it didn't happen, we got tested. Ben is infertile due to something from his youth. We talked about adoption, but he wasn't comfortable with it, so I dropped the subject. He's my husband and soulmate, and I couldn't imagine being without him. Sometimes, holding Billy, I think about what I'm missing. Then he dirties his diaper, and I'm eager to give him back to his parents. Wow, here, take him. She handed Billy to me like he was toxic waste. Later, Ben joined us in the shade. Will, I need a favor. My new partners and I are planning a meeting, and I want to set up an old southern barbecue here. Can you ensure cook for me? I'll pay you. This is a business meeting, and I want them to remember it. I hadn't cooked professionally in years, and I missed it. I agreed to help. Ben and Angie were relieved. Thanks, Will. We'll need tents, chairs, tables, etc. Angie will coordinate most. 80 clients will be here, and I want to make a good impression. Ben said gratefully. 3 weeks isn't long to prepare. Angie met with us daily to coordinate. My first question was, how many people to cook for? 80 confirmed, but count on 100, we don't want to run out of food. Angie replied. How many kids? I asked. No, adults only, she responded. I frowned. What? Angie asked, noticing my expression. Nothing, I said, hesitating. Spit it out, Will, she insisted. Okay, I think you're sending the wrong message. This is the South, family is important, invite wives and kids. It'll make a personal connection, call them, find out how many kids, their ages, and have appropriate activities. A personal call will make a bigger impression than an invitation, I suggested. She called Ben. Have you sent the invitations yet? Angie asked. No, Ben replied. Good, we need to change them and get the wives' names and phone numbers. I'll explain later, she said. She looked at me, impressed. Ever thought about running for office? You'd win with the barbecue vote, Angie joked. No, just been to a lot of parties, you as you go, I said with a smile. Angie worked the phones. We went from 80 to almost 120 people. We hired 3 neighborhood girls for service. Sherry, Myra, and Charlie helped. The day was perfect, hot but bearable with a light breeze. We set up the dining tent and installed fans. We cooked 150 pounds of pork, 50 chickens, and 2 beef briskets for the Jewish partners, with labels for kosher dishes. Side dishes included potato salad, coleslaw, baked beans, zucchini casserole, and grilled vegetables, mostly from Angie's garden. Desserts were homemade cakes and brownies, with chilled watermelon for the kids. I was exhausted, but it was worth it. We invited 120 people, 115 showed up, thanks to the kids. Before dinner, everyone socialized for an hour. The self-served setup maintained an informal atmosphere to keep the family theme. No booze was allowed in the dining tent. We set up a small marquee with 2 kegs in an open bar, but it wasn't opened until an hour after the meal. Senior partners ensured everyone knew excessive drinking was frowned upon. Kids ran around, playing on the equipment and games we provided. Angie and Ben were excellent hosts, moving from group to group. The men talked business, and the women talked about their men, with soft furniture placed under each tree. I admired Sherry in her conservative sundress. Surrounded by people complimenting our dishes, we exchanged a lot of business cards. Near the end, we gathered everyone in a dining tent for a short speech. I set up a small PA system. The senior partner thanked everyone for coming, praised Angie and Ben for organizing, and thanked Sherry and me for hosting. He surprised everyone by keeping it brief. That's all I'm going to say. It's been so much fun, I'm not going to spoil it. We have food left, take some home. Also, the ice cream is ready. Let's all have a portion. He left to a standing ovation. We had ice cream machines with chocolate, banana, pineapple, blueberry, and vanilla. Kids and adults got ice cream headaches from eating too fast. Angie's garden tours were popular. She picked ripe tomatoes and beans to share. Some watermelons we chilled for dessert were from her garden, and were popular in the seed spitting contest. The kids had a great time. Sherry nearly had a stroke when Angie handed her the check. The celebration had turned into a full corporate event. So Ben didn't pay the bill. There was another check, a 25% bonus, with a note from the senior partner thanking us. I took the premium check, shared it with Charlie, Myra, and the kids we hired, and gave the rest to Sherry. She deserved it. Ben's firm did business law, and soon I started getting calls for more parties. The demand was high, so we registered as a separate business. Sherry quit her job to become the manager. She was good at it, and getting better. All rentals came from us. So I promoted Myra to rental manager, and she hired her husband, who had been laid off. Everything worked out great, except Sherry was now the boss at work and home. It's your fault, Will. Get over it. Just think how many men entertain their boss at the end of the day. That cheered him up. Sherry started dressing better and sometimes had evening meetings with clients. We finally made enough money to buy her a Cadillac. Saturdays were always busy with events or meetings. Sherry handled the meetings and planning, while I coordinated equipment, staff, and food. We made more money from parties than rentals. We hardly had time for each other, and it reached a breaking point when she started having late meetings. After 3 consecutive late Saturdays, I lost my temper. I won't cook, coordinate, or be there if you have another late meeting. I thought this was a partnership, I said firmly. She shouted, I'm more interested in a husband-wife partnership. Choose what's more important, business or us. I ignored her and went to Billy, who had woken up from her yelling. I carried out my threat. The next month, she had a late meeting on a Sunday, and I refused to help plan, coordinate, or cook for it. The event was a disaster, and the clients were disappointed. On Sunday, she waved a white handkerchief in truce while I was feeding Billy. No, I said firmly. Her eyes widened. I want complete surrender. Meet my conditions, or it's over. No negotiations, I declared. I lifted Billy. I'm going to visit Ben and Angie. We'll be back in an hour. Billy loved Angie, and she adored him. She often babysat him. One of his first words was, Angie, and she cried when he said it. He was learning to walk, and would run to her as soon as I put him down. Ben wanted to ask about a small race car in one of the barns. Mr. Henderson loved racing and sponsored the car, but the engine was blown. Can it be fixed? Ben asked. No, but it can be rebuilt. Why do you want to do that? I inquired. I'm a huge NASCAR fan. I've always wanted to drive a race car. This would be perfect, Ben explained. How does Angie feel about it? I asked. She's hesitant, but willing to watch one race. I need you to tell her it's safe. Ben said, it's relatively safe. Injuries can happen, but it's not common. I reassured him. We rebuilt the car. Ben took lessons from older racers and started racing every Friday night at the local dirt track. Sherry and I made up, and one night we went to watch him. It was noisy and dirty, but Ben was enjoying it. Charlie and a few neighborhood kids were his pit crew. Ben was in the lead, but started losing speed and pulled into the pits. He had been fighting the flu and was weakened by the heat. We got him out and gave him fluids. He was disappointed because he was leading in points and needed to finish the race. Charlie spoke up. You know he can have a substitute if he's ill, Charlie said. Looking at me, it won't work, Charlie. The cage is built for his size, and I won't fit, I said. Someone his size or smaller will fit, Charlie insisted. We both looked at Angie. Oh no, I don't know anything about racing, Angie protested. You don't need to race, just shift gears, stay behind the group, and stay out of the way. He'll get credit for finishing and save points, Charlie explained. Ben listened. Do it, honey. I want that trophy. The cage will protect you. Just be careful, he urged. She stared at him. Give me a helmet, and if I crash, she asked. Not a word, I assured her, as we buckled her in. Stay low, keep a steady speed, and they'll leave you alone, I instructed. Are you sure? She looked at me, nervous. No. Then she hit the gas, scattering gravel. The first laps were quiet. The other racers knew to leave her alone. Except one. He was behind Ben in points, and wanted to knock her out to improve his position. On the next lap, he collided with her, scaring Angie. We heard her yelling into the headset. What the hell is he doing? She screamed. He's trying to knock you out. Next time he jumps at you, hit the brakes, then the gas, he'll run over you, but won't have enough speed to do serious damage. He might get tangled in traffic and lose positions, I advised. She did it perfectly. He flew toward her. She braked, and as soon as he touched her bumper, she took off. He got tangled in a pileup, and she won the lap. He caught up again and slammed her into the wall. The caution alarm went off, and she pitted, looking at the crumpled fender. Can you fix She asked urgently. We could have pulled it out, but there wasn't time. She was pumped up. Rip it off, and get me back in. I'm going to run this guy into the wall, she said, determinedly. Go. Charlie pulled on the wing, as I buckled her in again. Don't be stupid, watch him, he'll try again, I warned. Charlie yelled. Clear, she was back in, driving like a stolen Maserati, outrunning cars. She saw it coming. And I yelled into the headset, cut left now. She moved to the top of the track, surprising him. He slammed into another car. In the chaos, Angie sped past, and when the caution was lifted, she was third. By the checkered flag, she led, but finished 7th due to lost laps. The guy who tried to ram her finished last, falling further behind Ben. Angie got out of the car, and pulled off her helmet. How does it feel to lose by a girl? She patted her rear, then started giggling and hugging Ben. The guy was speechless, but I intervened. Be polite, she beat you fair and square. Learn from it. His team, ready for a fight, grinned. He turned, and walked away. Sherry took pictures like crazy. Angie got hooked on racing, used her trust money to buy a car, and raced in the women's division. She started late, but won 2 races. Ben got his trophy, and they planned for next year, painting both cars with their firm's logos. Our company logos were on them too. It was a small, outlawed dirt track, mostly recreational, but many successful racers started on such tracks. For Angie and Ben, it was a shared hobby that brought them closer. What did Sherry and I have in common? Nothing except Billy. Our business was growing, and we had 2 crews. Sherry dressed better, acted more arrogant, and had little time for Billy and me. She joined a professional women's organization, and became active, meeting for drinks every 2 weeks. I didn't mind, and when she received an award, I was proud. At the banquet, when I was introduced as her husband, several of her friends looked worried. I wasn't as clueless as they thought. Some women seemed surprised when I was introduced as your husband. Do you have a city husband I don't know about? I joked, but her face turned red. No, honey. They were just surprised I didn't make you up. You should come to mixers with me more often. Let me show you off. A reasonable explanation. But something felt off. We were swamped with work, so I put it off. As fall came, and things slowed down, we returned to our usual groove. They were well trained, so we sometimes left them on their own, just checking in to assure clients. Some even became friends. Ben's boss called and asked me to cook for Ben's birthday and racing celebration. He wanted to show appreciation, and let Ben brag about his racing career. He said I was Ben's best friend outside of work, and didn't want to offend me by hiring someone else. How many people? About 50, just us friends. We don't want you there professionally, but as a friend, I'd love to cook. But let's keep it simple. I'll handle the meat, pork, chicken, and coleslaw. Have the wives prepare desserts and sides. He'll appreciate it more, I told Sherry the date. I have an event that day. We've signed a contract. I can't. I was annoyed. They're friends. If they hadn't asked us to throw a party, we wouldn't have this business. It would be insulting. If you didn't show up, check in, make sure everything's running smoothly. Then come back. Think of Angie and Ben. I set up the slabs, and drove back to the house. Since our properties were connected, Ben and I built a road through the woods from my patio to his porch, using quad bikes. If I saw a pink helmet on the railing, I knew Angie was over. The party was in full swing. Sherry called, saying she was stuck at work, but would be there in an hour. We were running low on ice, so I volunteered to get some from my freezer. I had to take Ben's car, since mine was locked, and it ran out of gas. Halfway walking back, I saw through the patio door blinds a couple getting physical on the couch. Assuming it was neighborhood kids, I was about to call emergency, when I recognized Sherry and one of Ben's younger employees. My first impulse was to storm in and strike them, but Ben, a former divorce attorney, had once advised against reacting violently to infidelity, as it weakens your bargaining position in a divorce. Shaking with rage, I recalled his advice, and hid behind the trees. I called Ben. Hey, buddy, what's taking so long? Should I send Angie? No, I need to ask Angie something. Angie, sober, came on the line. Angie, I need your help. I saw Sherry at the house with someone else. I want a witness and a divorce lawyer. Can you help? Angie, in pain, replied, stay there, we'll come to you. 20 minutes later, Angie, Ben, and 2 wives arrived. Are you sure? Will? I showed them pictures on my phone. One woman spoke up. I'm a divorce lawyer. Will, a good one. I have a separate practice. My husband suggested it. I can advise you and offer my services if needed. I knew her socially, but not professionally. Angie hugged me and told me to think of Billy. Thank you, Julie, I'll take both. What do I need to do? The hardest thing you can do in this situation is to stay calm. Don't engage them. When we confront them, let me do the talking. Control yourself, Will, it will give you an advantage. She smiled a wolfish smile. But if he attacks you in front of lawyers, defend yourself. Ben picked up the phone. They're almost here. Let's go. They set up the whole thing. The senior partner pulled into my driveway for the promised ice. The others waited outside, avoiding the light from the patio door. We heard a knock. Sherry, are you there? Will sent us for ice. We're out. He continued loudly. When she didn't open the door, well, he did give us a key. Come on, boys, I don't like being in someone else's house when he's not here. Sherry and her lover were gathering clothes. When they heard the door open, he ran out to the deck to hide. In the dark, when I turned on the light, the look on his face was priceless. 4 cell phones clicked as he stood holding his pants, shorts, and shoes. Sherry had time to dress and saw us on the porch. She screamed and ran out. The senior partner raised his hand. Not a word. Be in my office at 9 a.m. Monday. Now go. He used all his authority and walked away. Angie and Ben sat next to me, holding my hands. Julie gave me her card, telling me to be at her office at 2 p.m. Monday. Then she hugged me. We returned to the party. I went to avoid staying in the house. Everyone left early, and I spent the night in their guest room, unable to sleep. Angie got me up with Billy. It's impossible to sleep with a 2-year-old, I realized. I hadn't thought about how to protect him. Angie picked him up early. Telling my mother-in-law I was having too good a time, Angie let Billy feed her breakfast, smearing syrup all over her face. It made me smile. When she took him to clean up, Ben said we'd talk when we put him to bed. In the afternoon, we held our first strategy meeting. Angie got to the heart of the matter. Divorce, Angie? She asked directly. Yes. I see it now. We stopped sharing dreams. She wanted the big city. I'm a country boy. My roots are here. I explained. What about Billy? Angie inquired. I want custody. I think a child would interfere with her lifestyle, I stated firmly. Ben observed. Billy doesn't fit her lifestyle, but he gives her power over you. She might use custody to get a bigger financial settlement. Julie added. We have to keep the negotiations from turning into a war. I didn't see Sherry for 6 days. When I came home, there she was. It took all I had not to throw her out. She saw my eyes and backed away. Please, just let me get my stuff and see Billy. Please, Will, just for a little while, then I'll leave quietly. You can even take my car keys. I let her play with Billy. She'd been paying so little attention to him that he seemed bored. She asked for her keys to open the trunk and asked if I would help with her clothes. I followed her to the car. When it started, I snatched the keys and threw them into the driveway. She screamed as I pulled Billy out of the car seat. He's mine. And you can't keep him, Billy screamed, not understanding. She cursed until she noticed Angie filming with her iPhone. Angie came over on her 4-wheeler To see Billy and make sure I was okay. Sherry, leave now, if you want to visit Billy. Get court permission, now get out before I call the police. I had more to say, but Billy was my priority. Sherry walked away, still screaming. Angie recorded every word. The next day, Julie had the tape and filed for an injunction until Sherry underwent a psychiatric evaluation. She was living with her new lover, who got fired. Due to the affair, they used polite language, but the message was clear. No references. He took a lower-paying job at another firm. I sent a letter to our customers, informing them I was no longer involved in the business, but would fulfill remaining contracts. After that, Sherry took over. I considered quitting, but Julie advised against it. You have a good reputation, and you might want to come back to this later, plus it gives Sherry an income, which could be useful. Sherry got her lawyer, and the negotiations began. She wanted the house, but it was still in my parents' name. She wanted the party equipment, but it was rented from my company. As per the prenuptial agreement, she couldn't afford it. Julie froze most of our accounts by agreement, allowing money only for payroll and supplies. Profits after my obligations went into an account controlled by Sherry. It was the fairest arrangement possible. Sherry struggled until Julie and her lawyer convinced her to take the deal. She wanted one last meeting to vent, but I refused. Her lawyer was the fifth lover she had dated in 18 months. All were slick city types, mostly without money. I couldn't say anything without ending with, "Goddamn cow." I stayed polite for Billy's sake. He was turning 3, and didn't miss her much. Sherry got the party and catering business, giving me a fourth of the profits. I got full custody of Billy, with broad visitation rights for Sherry. No men were allowed around Billy, and she had to follow strict rules. Angie and Ben became my anchors, helping me deal with grief and anger. Sherry's mom babysat Billy, under the condition that if she helped Sherry break the custody agreement, all contact with him would cease. Angie, with Ben's blessing, became like a surrogate mother. Ben even had a picture of him, Angie, and Billy on his desk. People thought Billy was his stepson, and he let them think so. To appear like a family man to new clients, I surprised Ben by naming him and Angie as Billy's guardians in my will. You're a family man, Ben. You always have been. You have an impressive woman, and us. I had never seen a male lawyer cry. It was touching. I dated a few women, but none were long-term partners. Angie insisted Billy needed a mother. He has one. When I find the right woman, I'll marry her fast. I almost found a match in the senior partner's daughter, a recently divorced lawyer who moved to town. Her father asked me to escort her to a banquet. Do me a favor, Will. She needs an escort for the banquet. She's beautiful, if that helps. I agreed, and rented a Cadillac. She was stunning, barely 5 feet tall, blonde, and fair-skinned. Her personality was charming. Ooh, a real-life redneck. Do you bite? Yes, I replied seriously. Ben, Angie, and her parents laughed, setting the tone for the evening. It was a prestigious charity event, and Rhonda talked non-stop, later admitting it was a nervous trait. Have you ever stopped talking? I asked. Only when I have something interesting in my mouth, she replied, making Ben sip his coffee through his nose, and Angie giggle. Angie taught me to dance, and Sophie was a wonderful partner. She danced twice with her father, and once with Ben. The rest were with me. While waiting by the bandstand, Sherry approached with her escort, Robert Morgan. Will, it's good to see you. Let me introduce my escort, Robert Morgan. You might know his father, Ben Wilson Morgan, founder of Morgan Bank. I stared at her. She looked rough, and had gained weight. Her escort seemed uninterested in conversation. Angie and Sophie joined us. Sophie kissed my cheek. Do you miss me? Love. Good. I want you. Upset all night. It'll be more fun when we have the crazy, passionate love you promised me. Oh, I'm sorry. Who are your friends? Angie laughed. She had told Sophie about Sherry, and they played it too. The fullest. Where are my manners, Sophie? This is Robert Morgan of the Morgan banking family, and this is Sherry Blankenship, I said, dropping my name from hers, a local businesswoman, and my ex-wife. I then introduced Robert to Sophie Williams of the firm Williams, Roberts, Howard, and Hatfield. Shall we dance the waltz? We left them speechless. As we waltzed away, I whispered, Angie told you who she was, didn't she? Sophie snuggled closer. Yes, and some history. Don't worry, I think they're having a rough time now. We finished dancing, and she pulled me into a passionate kiss. Did she see that? Give me a minute for the blood to return to my brain. Yes. She saw it. Thank you. You're welcome. My pleasure. Later, Robert asked Sophie to dance, and Sherry asked me, just for old time's sake, I'd love to. But I promised my lover all the dances, so am I sorry, Sherry. Maybe next time. They were stunned. Angie suppressed a laugh, and they left. Without a word, I looked at Sophie. I'm glad you're not staying here permanently. She looked hurt. Why say that? I'm starting to like you. Because we'd always be fighting off others. I'd fight to keep men away from you. And you'd fight to keep me away. She smiled. What makes you think I'll resist? She didn't resist, and we spent every spare minute together. Angie wouldn't let Billy go, so we could spend the weekend together. Sophie was the best lover I'd had. Despite her small stature, she was surprisingly strong and supple. She never told me her age, but I guessed she was in her 30s. She adored Billy, and showed me pictures of her daughter, who looked about 5. My ex has her now. I gave him more time, because soon we'll be 3,000 kilometers apart. It made me sad to think of Billy being far away. To pass the time, I opened a barbecue restaurant. Myra did well with rentals, so I left her alone. Restaurants are time-consuming and risky, but I was successful. I bought 4 food trucks, and sent them to neighboring towns 5 days a week. They were successful. I didn't have anyone permanent in my life, and had given up looking. Tragedy struck when Billy was 9. Billy would get off the bus at Angie's house, and ride his 4-wheeler through the woods. When I got home, she would ride with him, wave at me, and walk home. She would feed him a snack, check his schoolwork, and he would help her around the house. On rare dates, he stayed overnight with her. Angie had a room set up for him. One day, he called me crying, "Come soon, Daddy. Angie is on the floor crying, and I can't get her up." I rushed over. She was lying on the floor, sobbing, and unresponsive. I was about to call emergency, when Ben's boss called. "Will, I need you to check on Angie. Ben had a heart attack, and died instantly. We found him in his office." I almost dropped my phone. Ben's gone. He was my best friend, and Angie's life. I held her on the couch, rocking her like a baby. We cried together. Ben's will requested cremation, and to scatter his ashes around the farm. "This is the only place I ever felt at home," he wrote. Amazing people gathered for the funeral. His clients, racetrack buddies, and firm members all attended. Sherry hugged Angie. She sat during visitation with Billy on her lap, and Sherry's mother next to her. They had bonded over Billy, and were very close. Her eyes followed me around the room, worried when I was out of sight. Ben was older than Angie, and in good health. Doctors said it was an underlying condition, but couldn't determine the exact cause. After the funeral, friends and family returned to their lives, leaving us to grieve. Billy, Sarah, Sherry's mom, and I stayed with Angie for 2 weeks. She began to recover by the end of the 2nd week. Reading the will made things final, and Ben had included letters for his loved ones. Angie received one, which she never shared. Another was for Billy to open on his 18th birthday, and one was for me. "Dear Will, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Thank you for your friendship. You made me a better person, able to relax and appreciate life. I was honored to be your friend. I've set up a college fund for Billy. I know you can afford it, but it Was my pleasure. He's a great kid, and will be a better man. With your guidance, take care of Angie, she'll need you, I know you. Loved her, and never hurt her. Angie needs love to get through the dark times ahead. I'm sorry I won't be around to see Billy grow up. Find someone before you give up. Thank you for being the friend I needed most. Most of Ben's possessions, the farm, and investments went to Angie. He also left money for the dirt track he loved, renaming it in his honor. Angie tried to move on for a year, but eventually decided to move to Philadelphia. I can't stay here, everywhere I look I see his ghost. Billy cried for days, and I shed tears in private. Angie had been my anchor for years. She gave us the keys and asked us to look after the farm. I visited every few weeks to maintain the property and check the house. She left the electricity on and installed a security system. I focused on Billy, who was starting to socialize with friends. Our house became a hub for his buddies. I made sure to know them and their parents, inviting them over often. I dated a few of the divorced mothers, but nothing serious. My business thrived. I opened more restaurants and another equipment store. Sherry's business declined without the favorable rental deals. Her chef quit, and she eventually had to close. She became an office manager for an insurance company, married a lawyer, and divorced after 18 months due to her infidelity. She still sees Billy on holidays and birthdays. I was tired from opening a new restaurant when Sarah and Billy greeted me with grins. What? I asked, looking down to check my fly. We have a visitor. Come in, Sarah said. It was Angie. She flew into my arms, crying. We kept in touch monthly, but I always urged her to come home. How long do you plan to stay? Another 30 or 40 years. I'm home, Will. I'm not leaving. I'm tired of city life, and want to see stars instead of smog. I want to see you and Billy every day, and Myra, the guys from the driving range, all my real friends. She cried on my shoulder, and I felt happy for the first time in 2 years. We got her house in order. She looked aged and out of shape, but each week she got fitter, riding her tractor and tending the garden. Her youth returned. Sarah moved into a nursing home with a 1-bedroom apartment close to home. One day, she was moved to a larger apartment and was surprised when I asked her to send me all her bills. She protested, but I insisted and funded her checking account regularly. I told her, Billy and I have needed you, and you've always been there. This is payback. You should have a bigger apartment, so Billy can spend weekends with you. A happy grandmother is what he needs. End of conversation. We ate together every night. Billy spent time with his buddies, either at my house or hers. 3 months passed, and Angie and I started dating. We went to movies, concerts, and even did a little dancing. She visited Ben's old firm, and left in tears. They made sure to invite us to all their events. She insisted we were just old friends, but everything fell into place as we sat on the porch swing, watching Billy and his friends ride 4-wheelers. It was chilly, so we covered ourselves with a light blanket. I stopped swaying and looked into her eyes. Marry me. What? Marry me. I've loved you for years. You love me, but you won't admit it. Let's stop playing musical houses and settle down. Tears ran down her cheeks. But our age. I know, you're 51, I'm 56, I don't care. I love you, and I will love you until I die. She swayed, sniffling. This is an ultimatum. Marry me, or I swear on Ben's memory, I'll never set foot on this property again. Yes or no, right now. She was silent. I cried, thinking about what I had lost. I was halfway to the porch when she grabbed me. We rolled down the steps, and Billy rushed toward us. Angie, are you okay? Yes, dear, I just got some good news. Soon I'll officially be your mom. I hope that makes you happy. You've pretty much always been my mom. Now I can say it out loud. I love you, Mom. The wedding and the party afterward we talked about for years. Myra did her best. We married in the spring, outdoors in a meadow. On the farm, the castle tent was our reception area, most of Ben's old friends from his firm were there. Sophie, visiting her parents, came too. She kissed Angie, and told her how lucky she was. I realized I had some explaining to do. The guys at the track restored her car, and gave it to her as a wedding gift. The years flew by, and happy end. In harmony, Billy graduated from college, got married, and he and his wife went into business. We gave them my old house as a wedding present. After remodeling it, they gave us 3 grandchildren, and he named his son Bennett. Sometimes Angie lapsed into melancholy, thinking of Ben. On our 50th wedding anniversary, I gave her an oil portrait of Ben by a famous artist. She cried for 2 hours, and then we hung the portrait over the fireplace. It looks solemn, and though my eyes aren't as good as they used to be, in the evening, with the fire burning, and Angie playing with our youngest granddaughter, I swear he's smiling.